This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you're listening to the X-Zone on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio. My guest this hour is Geof Jowett. He is an intuitive spiritual medium, author, and educator. He has a comprehensive science education and, for many years, pursued an academic career in the natural sciences. His intuition works well with his analytical mind to bring through messages from spirit and help recipients interpret what is often deep symbolism. He received certification from the Morris Pratt Institute in Mediumship and became an ordained minister through the New Thought Spiritual Center of Palm Springs. Through his work with spirit, Geof feels privileged to support healing and a greater sense of contentment, joy, and peace. His website is www.geofjowett.com. That's GeofJowett.com. And Geof, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking to you.
Well, it's nice talking to you too, Geof. Tell us, how did you find your way to doing what you're doing from the scientific analytical part of the educational field?
So, as a child in my crib is when I had my first communications with spirit. But I always believed in a greater consciousness, and I was raised Catholic, and I pursued understanding God from that perspective. But my desire was to want to understand the human body and on a molecular level. So my studies took me to cell molecular biology, and I was always drawn to DNA. And DNA is the only biocrystal within our body, and I saw the correlation between that and how we use crystals in all our gadgets to store information. So my thesis study was on repetitive DNA sequences. They thought it might just be garbage DNA, but it turns out that a lot of DNA is necessary in order for genes to be expressed, to put it in simple lingo. But yeah, I see a high correlation between the natural sciences, metaphysics, and even religion. Like the truth is finding its way to the surface, and having shows like yours is a valuable asset because we get to find out and explore more that we might not hear in other places.
So explain to me how the mechanism using DNA actually works to being a spiritual medium.
So as I saw DNA, DNA is all about storage of information. Yeah. And spirit communication is all about, it's the exchange of information. And we're looking at it from a molecular standpoint. in every aspect of the human body, whether it's molecular, cellular, organ, or tissue, structure determines function. And again, early on, I was inspired to bring this idea and concept to the metaphysical aspect of my life. But I think I really pursued the natural sciences because I was trying to prove something or disprove things and to really explore human nature from all different perspectives. And I had a unique career. I was in biotech, and I got to teach MDs and PhDs how to do cloning experiments with products we had. But then that led me into higher ed. And I taught anatomy and physiology at several universities. I was a dean at an art school, and then I ended up being a dean at a school for alternative medicine. And putting all those factors together really enhanced my ability for being clairvoyant, clairaudio, and clairsentience. And I really think it prepared me for a full-time career being a spiritual medium.
All right, let me ask you this. I can understand the premise behind what you were just talking about on this side of the veil, because we're a physical body. We have all the components. We have the DNA. We have the mental capacity. But how do those on the other side who are just spirit use what we use to communicate with you?
Well, they have a memory. So there's a soul memory associated with any life experience. And when you look at past life regressions and so forth, there's definitely a memory. And there's a strong link through higher consciousness. So Edgar Cayce so wisely presented us as conscious beings, and our conscious mind is the ego mind associated with the physical form. Mm-hmm. But the subconscious is the psychic, and the superconscious is the intuitive. And those factors are very important in the spiritual realm, and so they still have that ability to connect. And telepathically, we stay connected to those members that are part of our soul family. And it's, a lot of times when I'm doing readings and people are asking about spirit guides, they laugh on the other side because we're guiding them as much as we're guiding them. It's a symbiotic relationship. As we advance ourselves through our consciousness, they can feel it and they can hear it and they can sense it, but they do the same for us. So there's never a disconnect between someone who's here in the physical and someone who's in the spiritual realm. They all overlap. And just like radio waves, there's many radio waves that exist in the ethers. They're just at different vibrations and frequencies.
How does the mechanism of mediumship work for you?
So my strongest, I believe, is my clear audio, and that's my ability to hear. And so when I start talking to someone or I hear a name, I can start to hear spirit associated with that. I've always had a strong affinity for music and sound in nature, and it elicits a feeling. And so I just, as time went on, I practiced it more and more. And then I integrate the sensory and the visual. And I don't necessarily always see spirit. I can see images associated with spirit. But I'm a total mental medium. And mental means that spirit uses our mind as a movie screen, and it flashes either single images or little movies, and then there's sound and feeling associated with those so that we can try to bring that information over to this side to someone in the physical realm.
Does everyone listening to us tonight and those not listening to us tonight have the ability to communicate with spirit?
Absolutely. Spirit is continuously communicating with us. And some of the mechanisms that they really enjoy using have to do with nature. It's not by chance that you might see a hawk or a butterfly or, something in nature will show up. It's not by chance that when you're standing in the grocery store line that you might hear a conversation and someone's name comes up or a location. You turn the radio on just at that moment when that song comes on. There's just so many means and mechanisms for them to communicate, and they want us to know they're available. They're there waiting to help. Mostly, they want to direct, encourage, show their appreciation, and inspire us.
How do they know on the other side who to communicate with? For example, how would a spirit know that if I was to sit before you, that somebody on the other side was being summoned to communicate with you because Rob McConnell was on the other side of you asking questions?
Well, and that's a great question. So spirit has led me to they show that there's a different frequency of vibration coming from an individual when they put themselves, for instance, when you're in the dream state. A lot of people get visitations in the dream state or a meditation state. But as a medium, they know that I'm open to receive. And when an intention is sent by a client to sit down with me and have a conversation, they'll present themselves. Now, some of them are a little shy or skeptical themselves about, hey, is this guy authentic? Is he genuine? And is he able to present, messages that are going to be helpful? So there's an observation. But the spirit realm completely is in charge of a reading. They conduct who's coming through, what they're going to say, and so forth. So as a medium, you just have to be open to whoever comes. It's like having an open house. The door's open. Who's going to come to the front door?
So you are the radio between the other world and this world.
Absolutely. I'm just the bridge.
Wow.
Bridge over troubled water many times.
I would imagine so, and I'd like to talk to you about that when we come back from this commercial break, so please stand by, Geof. Exonation, our guest is Geof Jowett, and his website is www.geofjowett.com.
Talk about really connected individuals. The more that they learn, the more they realize that, there's something bigger. So I think as time goes on, we're seeing a stronger correlation between metaphysics and natural law. And that's what fascinates me the most. That's what I love to talk about. And that's why even like the molecular level of what's going on within us, very organic and very, they've done studies with water. If you're depressed around water or you show joy around water, that the whole molecular structure changes. So it's definitely all about energy.
Does mediumship go against religion?
Well, some would say that. And it's interesting because a lot of my clients will say, my family doesn't know I'm coming here, whether they're Mormon, Christian, or studying all the different religions. But what I find is that, again, if you look at the master teachers, and Jesus is a great example. Jesus, to me, was a medium. He spoke to people who have crossed over. A lot of the saints have too. That's where they got their information. I think it's a natural process, especially when you understand consciousness. And, when someone leaves their physical body, their consciousness still exists. And if you look at the laws of physics, if you even want to take it from a scientific standpoint, energy can't be created or destroyed. It still exists at some point in the universe. And so as you're expanding your consciousness through a lifetime, there's that aspect of consciousness you can still tune into.
So let me ask you this, Geof. What is the main purpose of mediumship?
So to me, the main purpose is to remember the essence of who we are, and that's love. It's to share love, and that love can come in ways of just encouraging someone through a hardship they might be having, to giving someone direction, to showing appreciation and gratitude, or just inspiring someone with wisdom. And it's not fortune telling. It's not about telling the future. We have free will to create that, but it truly is. It's like having a very wise friend help you make decisions, but they don't make them for you. They give you some advice, and then they leave it up to you to make the decision.
So how do people respond to you when you tell them that you're a medium?
Yeah, you got to feel your way out through that a little bit, because some people, they're the way they define a medium is it's just like an attorney. There's lots of different ways to define an attorney. A radio show host. I like to help people be, I'm an educator at heart, and I want to help people understand. I came out with a new book this year. It's called Lasting Impressions, and it's 25 stories from readings. And what I've done here is I help people see mediumship from 4 perspectives. The first perspective is from the medium, themselves as a mental medium, as the receiver of the information. The second is from the standpoint of the sitter, the person receiving the information. The third part of the book are stories connected to spirit in how they actually are controlling the whole process. But the fourth perspective has to do with signs and symbols. And this is where you can help people understand mediumship. Is everyone has a story of an incident that happened that's just, it's not a coincidence, that those don't exist.
All right, stand by, please, Geof. You and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Geof Jowett is my special guest this hour. Exonation, www.geofjowett.com. And Geof and I will return on the other side of this break with the news, discussing the paranormal, parapsychology, and much more here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
We are drunk and we're not gonna let you in. We're putting up a fight. You may have brought the dark, but together we will shine the light. And whoa, we will be something special. Whoa, we're gonna shine. We're gonna stand tall. Gonna raise up our voices so we'll never ever fall. We're done with all your little games. We're tired of hearing that we're too young to ever make a change. 'Cause you're not gonna knock us down. We'll get back up again. You may have hurt us, but I promise we'll be stronger. And you're not gonna let you in. We're putting up a fight. You may have brought the dark, but together we will shine a light. We can hug a little tighter. We can love a little more. Laugh a little harder. We can stand up and roar. If we all come together, it will be alright. Stand up for one another and we'll never give up the fight.
We refuse to be ignored by those who will not listen. There are so many things you can do to become involved. Reach out to your congressman, mail, call, and tweet.
The smallest of words can make the biggest difference.
Be the voice for those who don't have one.
Together we have the power to change the world around us.
You're not gonna knock us down. We'll get back up again. You may have hurt us, but I promise we'll be stronger. And we're not gonna let you in. We're putting shine the light. You're not gonna knock us down, we'll get back up again. You may have hurt us, but I promise we'll be stronger, and we're not gonna let you in. We're putting up a fight. You may have brought the dark, but together we will shine the light, and whoa, we will be something special. Whoa, we will shine.
Shine by the students of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Drama Club, the high school where 1 week ago on February the 14th, 17 people were killed, 14 injured. They are truly an inspiration to each and every one of us. My guest this hour is Geof Jowett, and Geof is an intuitive spiritual medium, author, and educator. His website is geofjowett.com. Geof, why are you a medium?
Well, I had a wonderful career in higher education, and I always had this desire to teach, to coach, to counsel. And but again, that the whole idea of expansion of consciousness and the understanding of ourselves more than our physical being. And mediumship provides the great opportunity for me. And I realized that even having the opportunity to be a dean at universities, which I always thought, wow, how cool.
Yeah.
To me, what's even more cool is to sit down with a mom and help connect her to a child that perhaps is that she's lost, or someone who's lost their partner, and just help them understand there's something much, much greater and meaningful, and that there's this continuous process of love and kindness and understanding, and it's all this illusion that we've bought into. And I'm a truth seeker. Just like you are on your show, and I want to help people understand the truth.
How long does it take for someone who leaves this life as we know it to go to the other side before there can be communication?
So a couple stories, and one of these stories is in my new book. Is I was doing a reading for a gentleman, and I brought through his cousin, and I said, oh, this cousin's coming through, and I see a car accident and so forth. He goes, oh, no, my cousin, I just talked to him yesterday and so forth. Well, when he went home, he found out his cousin had passed earlier that day. So I've had a couple situations where they've shown up. And again, to me, it has a lot to do with the spirit directing it. But if they want to get information through to someone to say, hey, I'm okay, my transition was easy. A lot has to do with the state of mind and the state of being of the person who crosses over. Some might be that skeptical or doubtful, and that they'll want to stand beside and watch others communicate. But typically what happens if someone's even crossed, a week, a month, because I'm audio and it's hearing, it's just like when you're born here in the physical plane, you can't hear right away. You can't speak right away.
Right.
Spirit they don't always have the means to understand how to lower their vibration to talk. So they'll get other relatives to talk on their behalf. But the other thing I find that's very comforting about that is that they come through in groups to show you that they've made connections with other family members on the other side, especially someone that has a younger child that has crossed. I think it's very comforting to know, they found a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, and they're helping them, in the communication process. But as time goes on, they get better and better at communicating. And I have found that I have clients I've had for 12 years now, and they'll get an annual reading. And as time goes on, I'm more and more familiar with their family members in spirit, and I think they feel more comfortable with me, and the communication just gets better and better and better. It's like we've expanded our vocabulary. And, then there's other family members that have crossed in the meantime that will contribute to the communications.
What are the most common types of messages that our loved ones in spirit convey during a reading?
Typically, the most important thing is they want us to know they're okay, but they also many times want to come through and they want us to be okay. And they want us to be okay with the understanding that we shouldn't hold our lives back. We shouldn't, restrict our own happiness and joy. I've never had a spirit come through and say, I wish I worked more. I wish I was sad more. acknowledge your feelings, but what's most important is use each day as an opportunity to be enthusiastic and joyful and to participate with people, even people that might be challenging to you, because those are all opportunities to know yourself.
Do spirit ever describe what it's like on the other side?
I get senses and feelings about that. If you've ever saw that movie, What Dreams May Come, and that Robin Williams was in, heaven is a place of what you believe it is. It's part of your own consciousness. So if you love gardens and you're a gardener, perhaps that's your heaven. If you're someone who likes to visit mountains and lakes, that might be your heaven. If you're someone who's in the kitchen cooking, that's your heaven. So it's a place where you just feel comfortable, you feel at ease, and what the gurus all tell us here, what we're all trying to achieve is to be present moment focused. And I think things slow down there, and everything's just they're very present.
They're very present. I like that. Do loved ones in spirit communicate the same messages to different family members, or are they all, if you'll excuse the expression, generic?
No, and this is what's so beautiful about spirit communication. They use specific ways and means to communicate to individual family members according to the experience they had with that family member. Again, I go back to my most recent book, because this is a common question. There was a mother who had a reading, and then at a later time, her mother had a reading, and this mother's son was in spirit. And when he came through in the reading, and this was over the telephone, he was using his hands, and I had to describe to the mom what he was doing. And it turns out he was signing his name because he was deaf. And so that was her strongest validation, is that, wow, her son came through and he was signing his name, Aaron. Well, at a later time, it was a week or two later, Grandma had a reading, and I didn't know they were related. It was a different phone call, different name. And when this grandson came through to his grandmother, he kept showing me times they were together, and Grandma used to make him waffles all the time, and when he'd spend time at her house. And then they would do a little activity in her garden. And so after the reading, the mother contacted me and said, my mom liked your reading, but she doesn't understand, he came through and signed. And I said, well, did she know sign language? And she said, no, my mom didn't. And so, see, he was specific to his mother, who he signed, but Grandma didn't know sign language. So he used his own way that he knew he can get through to her. And they do that constantly. I can sit with a family, many times a family of like 3 sisters will come, and a mother will come through, but they'll have specific signs or symbols for each of them. And that sign and symbol is very feeling based, and it's associated with a connection, a personal connection they have with that person. And that's where the feeling comes in, and it's touching when people, when you can see they got it, they get it.
Sure. Jeff, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exo Nation, Geof Jowett is our special guest. www.geofjowett.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Be the voice for those who don't have one.
Together we have the power to change the world around us.
You're not gonna knock us down, we'll get back up again. You may have hurt us, but I promise we'll be stronger, and we're not gonna let you in. We're putting up a fight. You may have brought the dark, but together we will shine the light. You're not gonna knock us down, we'll get back up again. You may have hurt us, but I promise we'll be stronger, and we're not gonna let you in. We're putting up a fight. You may have brought the dark, but together we will shine the light, and whoa, we will be something special.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. X-Zone Nation, Geof Jowett is our special guest of this hour. www.geofjowett.com. First of all, Geof, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. And I understand the name of your latest book is Lasting Impressions, Medium's Cherished Messages from Spirit, and it's available on your website. And where else can people get a copy of this book?
They can order it through iUniverse and Amazon.
There you go. Geof, what happens if somebody would like to talk to you about communicating with spirit on the other side, and they don't know anyone who's in spirit?
Well, there's always someone there to guide and guard us. You know, when I talk to younger people, there'll be relatives that will come through, and it might not be someone associated with them, but no matter who comes to a reading, typically one of the first spirits that comes through is someone who would have crossed when they were very younger, before they're born, because they're assigned to them. It's like their little mentor from the spiritual realm, and they're going to be very helpful for me in the communication process, because they'll bring through the other spirits on their end. But they've been kind of in charge of that person's life path and stay closely associated with them. But indirectly or directly, we all know someone who's crossed over, or a friend of a friend. But it's interesting who shows up. That's the thing about mediumship, is you just don't know who's going to show up.
Has there ever been an instance where you have been totally floored, shocked?
Over and over. And that's what this Lasting Impressions book is about. It's 25 stories, like the gentleman I told you about who came through the sun with sign language. But probably this last year, and this is what really inspired me to write the book, is I had two clients, two independent clients. One was in Florida and one was in Illinois. And they had readings with me, one for 8 years and one for 9 years. And faithfully, every year they had their readings. Well, I did readings for two different ladies, for the lady from Florida. And it turns out they were sisters of this lady. And she came through and told me during the reading, you did readings for me while I was there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is Elizabeth. And so talking to her sisters, I was like, I talked to your sister before. And they said, yeah, that's how we found out about you. And then the other situation was 3 sisters came to visit me for a reading. And their mom had crossed over, and she had done readings with me for years. And when they sat in my presence, immediately I heard this name, and I said, oh, that's your mom. And your mom's saying she came to readings. And they said, yes, and we never knew. She kept a journal. And when they were going through her things after she crossed over, they found my name and phone number, and that's how they knew to come to see me. And that was really amazing me. That story is called Second Generation Mediumship, because it's going from the first group to the second. But yeah, it's never a dull moment in mediumship. And during the reading, not all the time do people know that they can validate stuff. But what's interesting to me is the stories I hear later on, and it can be the simplest things, but they're just aha moments. And that to me is so exciting when someone gets it. They get the connection, and they feel it, and it heals them, because they know that relationship with that loved one is still there.
How should a person best prepare for a reading?
Yeah, good question, because the sitter, the person receiving the reading, has as much to contribute to the reading as others, and they should be as open-minded as possible and just ready to receive who's coming through. But be prepared to ask questions, and if they don't understand something, the medium will do the best they can to elaborate from spirit what it might be. But same things in life. Don't have expectations. come with an open mind and an open heart, and just be ready to receive whoever's here to offer you love.
We hear the stories about how the reading affects those on this side, the family on this side. But how does the communication and the mediumship benefit the loved ones in spirit?
Well, spirit is in a continual process of learning and understanding, just as we are. And so the fact that they can help, again, as they're helping someone else, they're helping themselves. As they're teaching someone else, they're teaching themselves. They're reinforcing the lessons they're helping us within themselves. And especially think about this when you cross over and you're doing a life review and you're reflecting on your life and you're thinking of opportunities. Let's say I'm impatient, and I have a lot to learn about patience. Imagine when I'm in spirit, I can come through and help, my nieces and nephews and so forth, help them with patience. And that will help me, understand it myself, because really and truly, we're all part of the same field of energy. We're all part of the field, consciousness. And as I help mend and heal one part of that, I'm really doing it for myself.
So let me ask you, what do spirits do in the afterlife? Do they just hang out? Do they sit on clouds with harps like so many great artists have depicted? Or what do they really do?
It's a processing time. It's a self-reflection time. It's like having the most amazing meditation, but you're also in the pursuit of understanding. When I made these choices in my past life, how were they impactful? Not just to me, but to the people around me. And then you get to see the synchronicity and the integration of all the different aspects. You could walk down the street and smile at someone, and that could change their whole persona. And then they can go talk to their kids, and that, it could just boom, boom, have a chain effect. And so you get to see this wave of energy, this vibration. Greg Braden talks about belief waves and how we generate them in our hearts. And I really believe you take a lot of time to process things from, the higher perspective and just have a better understanding. And then you start to set plans for coming to revisit and the circumstances that you'll choose to help you overcome the karma from past lives.
Does communication with the spirit ever disrupt them in the spirit world? Like, do we ever invade on their quiet time? Are they ever out of business? Or I shouldn't say out of business, but the shop is closed? Yeah,
absolutely. And, you don't, just like here, you don't want to be nagging someone all the time. It's important that you give them their space to grow. The analogy that kids in spirit often show me, and this was in my first book, Hope for Parents Who Lost Children, is it's like a kite. You let the kite string out a little bit more and a little bit more, and you let the kite just fly and do its thing. You still have the connection, but let the kite do its thing. So it's nice to check in. And when I do readings, I tell people not a whole lot's going to change, every from month to month. So a lot of my clients, maybe twice a year, sometimes once a year, they check in with their relatives. But we have to be careful not to enable people to want to talk to them on a regular basis through a medium. First of all, you don't need a medium to talk to your loved ones. They have an instant connection. And what's important, I think, during a reading is I try to give people information and signs and symbols of their loved ones communicating with them so they can establish that communication on their own.
Gotcha. Have you ever had a spirit manifest itself to you during a reading?
Yes, and several times. And it usually was when the spirit was very distressed about something that happened in their life. And it's still not like physical, but it's like a hologram. There's an energy there, and then it kind of comes in and goes out and comes in and goes out. It's very organic. But there's been times too when people have been in extreme grief and they wanted to really convey that this is who I am, and please, let my loved ones know, again, because they want to help them on their journey, on their path.
Because you are so open and so conducive to this work, do spirits seek you out when you're not expecting them?
It happens sometimes, but I set boundaries myself, and it's an important, especially when I'm sleeping. Mm-hmm. So I had 2 spirits visit me when I was sleeping, and that's when I learned to set boundaries. And one was a young boy. He told me his name was Daniel. He was 9. He was from Florida, and that he had his head was all cut, and he told me his parents, took an axe to him. And I researched, that's the science of me, the next day, and learned that, several weeks before this incident, but he was a lost soul, and he saw that I was a light and I could help him, but he was afraid to go in the light. He thought his parents were there. So when they need help and stuff, but usually when I'm in bed now, I just say, this is my time. You can get in touch with me in the morning if you need to.
Listen, we're nearly up for time. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And let our listeners know how they can find out more about you, how they can contact you, and how they can buy your books. Absolutely. So, please feel free to visit my website. It's Geof Jowett, and Geof is spelled GeofJowett.com. That has a list of the readings I provide, soul progression, mediumship, and my books and CDs. I have a couple CDs on meditation. My books are also available through Amazon.com. And if you just research me, my name, Geof Jowett, you'll find them there. But I appreciate your support, and any questions I can answer, you can reach me through my website. And I love sharing and discussing and talking and exploring the multiple dimensions that we exist in our consciousness. Geof, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. I hope that we have the pleasure of talking to you again, because I still have more questions, and you seem to be the guy to give me the right answers. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. You take care of yourself, my friend. Namaste. Namaste to you, too. Exo Nation, Geof Jowett has been our guest. And once again, if you'd like to contact Geof, visit his website, geofjowett.com, and that's GeofJowett.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.